Week 15 of the NBA 2021-22 season is over, which means it's time to run it back. This is Run It Back, NBA Week in Review.
The voice of the fan. Drop a bounce pass, throw down the rim rocker. Lay up off the glass, right past the shot blocker. I follow through like Kobe's is money. You can cash it. For news on LA hoops, come over to Beach Basket. Up-to-date sports, post-game reports, debates and play-by-play coming straight off the court. The voice of the fan making noise, causing havoc. Zone a man up, you can ask Peach Basket. The Peach Basket, coming soon on air. The Peach Basket, where the news begins. We're dropping news like we're in the stands. Creative views from the avid fans.
This is the show where we recap the week that was, then take a deep dive into that week for select teams. Tonight, I'll be joined by Nate Malone, who will cover the Phoenix Suns, Isaac Edelman of our partner site, flteams.com, with an update on the Miami Heat, and I will do my best to update you on the Los Angeles Lakers Week 15. Before we get to the individual team recaps, we want to take a look back at the marquee matchups for Week 15. This is the NBA Rapid Recap.
Only 3 games in the NBA on Saturday, January 22nd. The Phoenix Suns started Week 15 by doing what they have consistently done all season long, win. On this day they topped the Indiana Pacers 113-103. Sunday, January 23rd saw 11 NBA games played. 2 of the teams chasing the Phoenix Suns in the Western Conference, the Golden State Warriors and the Utah Jazz matched up. The Warriors earned the W in this one, 94-92. Four games on Monday, January 24th. The better-than-expected Cleveland Cavaliers beat the good, but struggling New York Knicks 95-93. The Cavaliers' balanced attack had 5 players score in double digits with 2 others scoring 8 points. Tuesday, January 25th had 9 NBA games to enjoy. The marquee matchup was between the Los Angeles Lakers and Brooklyn Nets. The Lakers took this West versus East game by a score of 106-96. 10 games on Wednesday. The Chicago Bulls started out this season on fire. Of late they have been battling injuries and struggling a bit, but on this day they were able to get the win against the Toronto Raptors, 111-105. Only 2 NBA games on Thursday, January 27th. The still Ben Simmons-less Philadelphia 76ers took on the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers were without LeBron James for this matchup, but did recently welcome back Anthony Davis. Despite a big game from AD, the 76ers won 105-87.
Again, the Jazz have fouled again.
11 big games on Friday, January 28th. While the Jazz, Suns and Warriors have dominated the Western Conference standings, the Memphis Grizzlies have been quietly making a run for the top. On this day they beat the Utah Jazz 119-109 and are now solidly in the 3rd position in the Western Conference.
Ingles against Conchar. House steps out. Blocks another one. That's 5.
Now, we are and always will be a site dedicated to basketball. We exist to amplify the voice of passionate basketball fans worldwide, but we're also fans of sports in general. And we aren't living under a rock. We are aware that this is a big football weekend. Only 4 teams remain in the NFL playoffs, and that means only 4 teams left for you to bet on. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 56, new customers can get 56-1 odds on any team. Bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TBPN and get 56-1 odds on any NFL team. Bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code TBPN for 56-1 odds at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL and sponsor of Run It Back. NBA week in review. Be crazy to talk football and not mention the greatest quarterback to ever play the game retired today. Thank you for 22 amazing seasons, Mr. Tom Brady. And I cannot think of a better segue than that to bring in Isaac Edelman. Isaac is from our partner site, flteams.com, your one-stop shop for all things Florida sports related. He is a Florida guy, not just a Miami Heat guy. He is kind of a fan of Tom Brady, I guess. So my condolences to you and all of Tampa for the retirement of Brady. But we're not here to talk him. We're here to talk Miami Heat. So unless you want to interject a little football talk, tell us a little bit about how the Heat did this week.
We are here to talk about the best team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Record-wise, statistically, and also visually. Now, we are not here to show visuals. We are here to talk and break down the Heat and their week. 3-0. Well, it's not surprising. This is what we should expect from the Heat each and every week, especially because they are now the first seed in the Eastern Conference. Look, the Heat are not healthy. They haven't been all season. This is what's so impressive about this team. Kyle Lowry hasn't played at all this week. Obviously, Victor Oladipo hasn't played at all this week. He hasn't played one game this season. Oladipo expected to be back sometime in February, which February starts in a few days. But anyway, let's break down this week. The Heat started off against a tough team, but on the other hand, a not so tough team. The Los Angeles Lakers. And it was the return of LeBron James to Miami. LeBron scored 33 points and 11 rebounds. Terrific. And that's his as per usual performance.
Right.
But that wasn't it. Russell Westbrook, 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. Everything went well for the Lakers except the first 3 quarters. The Heat were blowing out the Lakers all game, but then Miami fell apart in the fourth quarter. The Lakers had a chance. They had a very, very strong chance to win this game. It was a low chance, but it got strong towards the end. But THT made a very bad inbound, and that's why the Heat won 113-107. Jimmy Butler was the star of this game. He had a triple-double, 10 rebounds, 12 assists, and 20 points. This triple-double passed, well, guess who? LeBron James for the most triple-doubles in Heat history, and that's amazing.
Shocking.
Yeah, and I think it's shocking, and I think this is why you're saying it's shocking, because LeBron has played way more games in a Heat uniform than Jimmy Butler. Look, PJ Tucker, very good on the defensive end, had 7 rebounds, 5 assists, only 8 points. Look, PJ Tucker is shooting lights out from 3 this season. We'll talk about that later because it showed in the other games the Heat played this week. Duncan Robinson, second star of the game, 25 points in 42 minutes. He was Miami's leading minute getter, which is very surprising, but it did pay off. Again, the Heat, outside of Kyle Lowry and Victor Oladipo, did not have Tyler Hero, yet we beat the Lakers. The Lakers did not have AD, so it kind of does even out. So that's Miami's first win of the week. Then the Heat stay in Miami to play the Knicks. Miami wins 110-96. They had control of the game from tip-off. Julius Randle, though, I'll say this. He sucked, but it's not because he sucks. It's because Miami is such a good defensive team. Look, Julius Randle might be the worst star in the NBA. What does that mean? He is a star at times, but at other times he's terrible. And that's why I want to give him a nickname of the worst star in the NBA. I don't know if that makes sense, but it is going to make sense now.
Yeah. I saw you tweet that, or at least you put it in our Slack channel. I remember.
Yeah, I put that somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler, 22 points. That's around what he's averaging this season, actually. But PJ Tucker, 20 points in 23 minutes. Every time he got the ball in the corner, he made the three-pointer. He leads the NBA in three-point percentage this season. He is by far playing better than how he did last year on the championship Bucks and then previously on the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, I want to let me pause you there because I'm so fascinated by that guy. He's such a glue guy, such a great player. Let me take you back a little bit. DeMar DeRozan in San Antonio was good, but not what he's doing in Chicago, right? I mean, it's amazing the night and day difference. He's so much better in Chicago. And then you take a look at PJ Tucker, good with the Bucks because he had a certain role he had to fill, but he wasn't expected to do the things he's doing at Miami. Now, at Miami, he's flourishing. I mean, he's shooting. I think I saw 50. I mean, I might be wrong.
Yeah, no, he is.
But it's 48% from the corner three, right? Almost 50% from the corner three. The guy's virtually automatic. He's unbelievable.
And by the way, his shooting form is horrendous. It obviously works.
It works. Yeah.
I say it's horrendous, and I want to make this clear when you compare it to the normal 3-point form or to the majority of how NBA players shoot.
I got you.
But it's working, so we're not going to complain about that. It doesn't matter if it doesn't look good visually, right? It's
Scoreboard
like
don't lie. Yeah.
It's like some teams. I can't think of one off the top of my head. They're just they win, but they play sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to think of a team like that.
Well, I'll tell you, the New York Knicks of the 90s, and I know this is before your time, but this was a team that played, and I don't want to call it sloppy, but they played half-court games. They slowed it down, and they punished you. It wasn't necessarily fun basketball to watch, but they won games. So, yeah, there's an example. So, yeah, I get you. The shooting form matters when it doesn't look good and it doesn't go. Right? If the shooting form looks good and doesn't go, then you're concerned. But if it doesn't look good, but it goes, there's no concern. And that's where we are with PJ Tucker.
Absolutely. So also in this game against the Knicks, Duncan Robinson, second straight game with 25 points. That's a very good sign. He's back in the starting lineup for Miami after his big slump. Eric Spoelstra rightly took him out of the starting lineup, and it obviously works. And that's why the Heat have such a good coaching system. They know what to do at the right times. Yeah. Miami's third game of the week and their third win of the week was against your Clippers, Jose. Miami, again, like the Lakers game, the Lakers also play in LA. It's something about these LA teams, right? The Heat were blowing out the Clippers the first 3 quarters, but in that fourth quarter, the Heat were selling. The Heat were blowing their lead, but luckily, they ended up winning 121-114. Look, Jimmy Butler, 26 points. He just keeps on performing. PJ Tucker, 18 points. Man, I'd be fine with him getting 10 points, but he's obviously making his threes, and that's why he's having 18 points. Bam Adebayo, pretty good game. Double-double, 20 points, 12 rebounds. Gabe Vincent, the product out of UCSB, 23 points. Let me give you a quick stat about Gabe Vincent. He is playing himself into some really solid company. Look, let's break down the starting guards since December 1st, who are averaging 14-plus points per game and averaging 40+% from the three-point line. Zach LaVine, 24 points per game. Drew Holiday, 20 points per game. Seth Curry, 15 points per game. Tyrese Maxey, 14 points per game. And Gabe Vincent is next up at 14 points per game and shooting 40% from the field. Vincent is good. And Jose, I'm going to quiz you. Sorry if I'm putting you on the spot. Out of the 5 players I named, there's 4 out of the 5 players I named. What are they compared to Gabe Vincent?
Well-known NBA players.
Well, that is true, but they are starters. Gabe Vincent is the only player on that list who's coming off the bench.
Makes sense.
And that's impressive, right? So that's why they have such good depth. Let me tell you something about Caleb Martin. He's another guy that, true NBA fans know who he is, but he wasn't that good with his brother on the Charlotte Hornets. He's been good, really good this year on the Heat. And it is impressive because a lot of players are going down with injuries. And this is why the Heat deserve so much credit. They obviously have good coaching, right? They obviously are set up well with money, right? But the amount of injuries they've had hasn't affected us. It has, but because we've had bench pieces play well, it hasn't been a problem. So, look, the Heat only have one concern, and they need to work on their late game play. They blew a big lead to the 2 LA teams, the Lakers and Clippers. We won both of those games, but in the playoffs, you will not win those games, right? The Lakers will win that game, right? THT will not even be inbounding that ball in the playoffs. At least I hope he won't.
He may not be with the Lakers come
Yeah,
playoff time.
and I think we'll discuss something about the trade deadline later on the show.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
So
will.
that's really it for the Heat. Kyle Lowry is still out with personal matters, and the Heat are playing the Raptors as we speak right now. Look, the Heat are going to win this game tonight against the Raptors, and they're going to stay first in the East, especially because the Bulls keep on losing. And the Nets, who knows what's happening with them?
I was curious about Kyle Lowry. You brought it up. It's personal issues that's keeping him out right now?
Yes.
Okay. So no detail, just a personal issue.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the same thing that's happening with Goran Dragic, who was spotted in Miami in their last game against the Clippers. So
interesting. Well, the Heat continue to impress. Having watched them closely when they play the Lakers and the Clippers, what impresses me is they're a good basketball team. And I've said it before, I will take a good basketball team over a group of all-stars that is not yet a team. And unfortunately, I think it's a great segue because we're going to talk Lakers. Unfortunately, I think that's kind of where, the Lakers are, or certainly where they were at the start of the season. Like I said, great segue. Let's go ahead and drop the pin in Los Angeles. We're going to leave Isaac here while I talk Los Angeles Lakers basketball. I've said it before, I'm not a big fan of doing these because we have great people that cover the Lakers. But I'm here. I watch the games. I'm a fan. So I'm going to give you the Lakers update for Week 15. Week 15 was like every other week for the Lakers, and unfortunately, that's not a particularly good thing. The Lakers are built top heavy in that they have an incredible reliance on three guys. These are the guys that they each pay $30 million plus a year to play the game of basketball: LeBron, AD, and Russell Westbrook. Everybody else, for the most part, is on a minimum contract. It's baffling. So what that gets you is a team of superstars, but it takes a while to make a team a team. And again, that's the difference, I think, with the Miami Heat, a team like the Los Angeles Clippers. The San Antonio Spurs is another good example. These are good teams. The Lakers are working to get there, and it generally takes a while. And every single time that the Lakers make a step forward and look like a team, they regress a little bit. And it's because of injuries. That's been the story this season, unfortunately, for a lot of teams, not just the Lakers. But it's one step forward, two steps back, two steps forward, one step back, which leaves them at 500. And that's where they are. They had a 1-3 week. Was not a particularly good week. They are in the midst of a long 6-game road trip. Let me see if I can get the actuals here. They beat the Magic. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was going back last week. They lost to the Heat. Isaac brought that up. They beat the Nets. And that was unfortunately, though, without KD, without Kyrie. And LeBron had a great game in that one. And then they lost to the Sixers and they lost to the Charlotte Hornets. And that's the way it's been. Unfortunately, with the Hornets, they were without Kyrie. They were without LeBron and without AD. LeBron is out again tomorrow against the Hawks. So that's the difficult thing. Isaac talks about, and absolutely justifiably so, about the depth of the Miami Heat. We'll talk a little bit about the Clippers again. I see some similarities there. They don't have Kawhi, they don't have Paul George, but they continue to play good basketball because they're a good team. The Lakers don't have that kind of depth. They have some good players behind those top big three. Malik Monk is phenomenal. Austin Reeves has been very good. Taylor Horton-Tucker has not become who everybody expected him to be. Avery Bradley has been good in spots, but you really don't have that consistency. And unfortunately, when you put all your eggs in that that big three bucket, and that big three just can't play. I don't know that they've been on the court for very many games. I should have that handy. I don't, but they have not been on court together for very many games, the big three, and certainly not at all recently. That makes it tough. That is an absolute struggle. So I understand Isaac just messaged me. He's having some computer problems. I'm not watching the screen, so I'm not sure what you see of him right now. But if he's wonking out in any way, shape, or form, it's because he's having computer troubles. But that's the problem, unfortunately, with the Los Angeles Lakers. There has been talk about moving on from Russell Westbrook. The reports are saying, that it's not going to happen. I think, again, these rumors, you never know what's true and what isn't, but there was talk that they looked to the Kings to bring in Buddy Hield for THT. The Kings didn't want that. So I think, the Lakers are picking up the phone. We're going to talk to trade deadline in a minute, but I think this is a team that they're going to see through to the playoffs. And we'll see. I mean, AD is back now. He looked phenomenal against the Sixers. It is possible in the second half of the season that this team gels, that this team gets it together and becomes a good team. And all three of their superstars are there. It is possible, but it really is the only path forward for the Los Angeles Lakers. Anything short of that, unfortunately, just means that they're a play-in team. And maybe just a first round and out team at best. Not the greatest recap, unfortunately, for the Lakers. Hopefully week 16 is better for the purple and gold. Isaac just is gone. All right. I guess my recap was just horrible, and he just decided to leave us. But that's okay. That's the recap. We're hoping for a better week in LA. Hopefully Nate is ready to join us, because we're going to drop the pin now in Phoenix and talk the West leading Phoenix Suns. Nate, are you there?
Yeah.
All right.
I was
There you are.
looking up something, but yeah. So we played 3 games this week, starting Monday, and then all the way into, I think it was yesterday, we played the Timberwolves. So we played a pretty eventful week, and they all were wins. Right now we're in the midst of a 9-game winning streak, about to get to 10, because the Spurs that we play, I want to say tomorrow. Yeah, we play them tomorrow. They have almost nobody. None of their best players are not Poeltl, Murray, and Derek White. I don't think is playing either. So I mean, it's going to be a cakewalk. So I'm not, I'm
Those are
really
the scary games, though, man, because those are scary games when you expect to win and the other team plays over their head. So be careful.
I feel as though if we were to lose, no one would be as mad as if we had our full team. So far this whole week, JaVale McGee hasn't played, Jay Crowder hasn't played, DeAndre Ayton hasn't played, Cameron Payne hasn't played, probably a few other guys that I'm not thinking. I don't think Elfrid Payton's played. Like I don't know what's going on.
Shoot, I think we lost Nate.
Might be like a coaching decision, but I know Bismack Biyombo, that's my boy. He has come in.
He's been good.
Good. He's been great.
Yeah.
I don't know why he was sitting on the couch at home. He has been great. That dude came in and he is handling business. Matter of fact, I was gonna pull up some of his stats so far. This dude is handling it. I mean, and it's not an easy task to because I know some people want to talk about Ayton and say that Ayton can't do this, Ayton can't do that. But I'm telling you right now, Ayton is, I feel like, a top 5, at least a top 6 center in the league. I mean, he's averaged double-digit rebounds every year he's been in the league. He's averaged like 60% or higher in field goal percentage. He's all average double-digit points. I mean, he does what you need him to do. I mean, I don't think he's the next coming of Shaq. He's not better than Embiid, he's not better than Jokic, but he does what you need him to do. And Biyombo is, I wouldn't say duplicating his success, but he's at least imitating it. Let me see if I can. Right here, Bismack Biyombo. Even just yesterday, Wolves. I'm sorry, not yesterday. No, yeah. 28th yesterday. He had 14 points, 12 rebounds. I mean, honestly, that's something I'd expect DeAndre Ayton to do. Maybe not on his best day. On his best day, I can see DeAndre Ayton dropping 28 and 19.
Sure.
28 points, 19 rebounds, and he'll get you about 6 assists. Believe it or not, maybe a block or two. I don't think DeAndre Ayton's the best blocker in the league, but I mean, when you're 7 foot, you better at least block something. Get your hand in the air,
Right.
Uh, against
So
the
what's
Jazz,
going to happen though when JaVale comes back? Now they got 3 bigs. There's not enough. You can't play all 3, can you?
I think. Well, here's the thing, and I believe that Monty Williams will do a great job at staggering minutes. So far, he's done good at staggering minutes already. He has Chris Paul out there, and then if you ever notice, he needs a breather. Campaign comes in, Devin
Sure.
Booker stays in, and then he leaves a little bit into the second quarter, usually depending on either his fatigue level or how many fouls he has. And then, Cam Johnson comes in, Jay Crowder leaves, and then, that's when you get, guys like JaVale McGee usually come in and give, so I know they start with Jay Crowder usually at like the power forward, but I think it just all depends on the package because, when the Warriors want to go small, back in the day, they used to put Draymond Green at
Sure.
the 5, sometimes the 4.
Yeah.
So, but when they want to go long, you want to go big. I mean, let's put JaVale at the 4. Let's put DeAndre Ayton at the 5,
Yeah.
and let's run, let's go. Because I don't know how much of the Suns games people really pay attention to. A lot of times I'll click on my thing on my TV and they'll be like, "Do you want to just see the highlights?" And I don't want to see the highlights. I want to watch the game. I want to see the plays that they don't always want to show you. The plays where you see JaVale McGee running a beautiful cut back. I mean, such a beautiful cut, and getting an easy dunk. And I mean, they can run that 3-4 times in a row because Chris Paul will make the pass every single time.
Sure.
And he did it yesterday to Bismack Biyombo. It was all over Twitter. I seen it, tight window right into the middle, and they're bigs. I mean, there's not a lot of teams that have bigs that just dominate. The Warriors do not have a big that just dominates. I don't know if Wiseman is back. I don't think so.
He could be that guy though. He's good.
Yeah. That's what they've been missing though. Not the Warriors. I'm sorry, the Lakers. AD he played great at the 5, even though he kind of cries about it.
He dominated Embiid though. He played really well against Embiid.
Yeah, that won't happen in a 7-game series.
I don't disagree with you. No, I don't disagree with you. I don't. Well, listen, I don't want to let your time go without mentioning that you dropped an article today, which I think is amazing and really appropriate for the Suns. The Suns are the best team in basketball record-wise. I mean, that's it. Numbers don't lie. They are the best team in basketball. Yet they are somehow underappreciated. There's some scrutiny there. There's a lot of picking and poking. What is it about the Suns? In the article, you highlight why they're so good, and it's a great read. We'll certainly have it linked when this posts on our YouTube channel. But why is it that the Suns aren't getting necessarily the respect that even the Lakers still get, and they're a 500 basketball team? Why is that?
It's 2 things. One, I feel it's a little bit of that. It's just a little bit of that bias. That bias. I don't know if you play 2K or anything like that, but you probably, I don't know, maybe your kids do, your nephews or whatever. When you play 2K, you want the team with the best players, with the biggest names. You want LeBron, you want KD,
you don't want Utah Jazz. No one plays Utah Jazz.
That's part of why the All-Star game is so popular. I want to see the best players play against the best players. I don't look. If there was a team with a bunch of no-name nobodies from nowhere, and they were undefeated, we'd be like, okay, they're great, but no one would be trying to wear their jerseys. No one would be rooting them on. We want LeBron, we want Giannis, we want. And the second part I want to say, well, actually, I piggyback on my first part. like in my article I wrote, the Jazz have had to deal with that a little bit. The Jazz last year were really good, and the year
Yeah.
before were really good.
Yeah.
But I mean, no one's like, oh, the Jazz, it's their year. No one's saying that, you know?
No one's
And
saying
it's sad because why aren't they saying that? You know? It's kind of like the 49ers right now, you know, they are really close to Super Bowl, but people are still kind of like, Jimmy G should get traded.
Yeah.
The 49ers are okay. You know, and it's like, why? I mean, they're playing great, but I don't want to talk too much football, but I just wanted to give an example. I really feel like if you, you know, examples are so good. They just help you to really paint a picture of what I'm trying to portray. But in the second part, I believe is because of that puncher's chance thing that I hear people say a lot in boxing. There may be a guy who has a better record. There may be a guy who has, I mean, he's had the accolades. He's Golden Glove boxer. He's done this. He's done that. But there's this other dude. He's fighting, and we've seen him knock out people before. He's got like the crowd behind him, and he's just got that puncher's chance. I mean, he may not be a better boxer, but you leave your chin right there, he's going to knock you out.
Yeah.
You know, he's got that puncher's chance. So I feel like the Lakers may suck a little bit as far as record-wise, but they got that puncher's chance. I mean, you got Russell Westbrook, Hall of Famer. Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, Hall of Famer. AD, probably in his future, if he gets his life together, a Hall of Famer.
Dwight Howard, Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer. I mean, you know, you're riddled with – I mean, you got the Warriors.
Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah, the Warriors are 4 games behind us, 4 entire games, which is almost like a million when the team in front of them is playing like a bat out of hell. You're not gonna, you know. So, but they still put them above us, and it's ridiculous. I mean, Steph Curry's played the worst month of probably his career.
Right.
I mean, and they still for some reason are like, well, the Warriors, you know. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just we'll see though. We'll see.
There is a lack of respect, and the only way you get past that is to win. You keep winning, people respect you. So, what we took away from that is that the Phoenix Suns are Mike Tyson, and the Los Angeles Lakers are Buster Douglas. They're the ones with the puncher's chance. Outstanding recap. All right, I love the Suns. I'm excited to see them play out the rest of the season. Let's bring in Isaac Edelman again, and we're going to go ahead now and talk NBA question of the day. Before we get to the NBA question of the day, to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TBPN and get 56-1 odds on any NFL team. Bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code TBPN this weekend at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL and sponsor of Run It Back, NBA Week in Review. I say every time before we get to the question of the day that I struggle with these. This one, kind of was presented. It was pretty easy to come up with because the trade deadline is close. There are probably 3 times in the NBA season when NBA fans just get together and really just, love to just talk and opine. The start of the season, right? Everybody's going to talk about why their team has a great chance. At the end of the season, when everybody talks about, who won and what should have been, and the trade deadline, right? The All-Star game is probably 4th. There's always talks. There's always these rumors, right? Today, I think we talked about it already. THT was supposedly offered to the Kings. Nate brought this up before we went live, but there's been rumors that Harden wants out of Brooklyn. And a logical choice would be Philly, which would be amazing, at least intriguing, if not amazing. So there's lots of rumors. There are always rumors, but usually when we get to the NBA trade deadline, somebody, the Pacers will trade a 2nd-round pick to somebody for cash. I mean, they're just duds 9 out of 10 times.
Okay. Let's not bash the Pacers. We know they're bad.
No, it wasn't a bash. It could have been any team. The Heat trade a 2nd-round draft pick. You can't bash the Heat. The point is, oftentimes these trade deadlines come and go and nothing happens. So The question is, and it's just a gut feel, and we'll start with you, Isaac, first. With the trade deadline close, it's just about a week and a half away, February 10th. Do you anticipate a lot of movement, light movement, or no movement? What's your gut telling you?
It's an interesting question, especially because you just said it's only a week and a half away. Look, I know this as a Heat fan because we wanted Kyle Lowry last year at the trade deadline. It did not happen. We did get Victor Oladipo, I believe. So, we wanted Lowry. We didn't get him, but we got other players. I'm going to say there is going to be a lot of movement. I don't know if it's going to be as much as last year, which, by the way, was a lot. But look, there are some interesting situations, such as the Ben Simmons. Because there was no such thing as a Ben Simmons, type of situation last year. There's been in the past, but definitely not last year. Simmons, look, he's on the trade block. Jerami Grant, I hope I'm pronouncing his first name right. I've seen him on the trade block. It's interesting because the Pistons are always going to be willing to trade someone. Christian Wood from the Rockets. Rockets willing to trade players. Pacers, Miles Turner. Domantas Sabonis also from the Pacers. And Harrison Barnes from the Kings.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some names that jump out to me. Now, look,
Solid
those are
players.
Let's say all of those players get traded. That could be considered light movement, right? You need some other big moves. But believe me, there's teams like the Lakers that are going to try. I'm not going to say they're going to do it, but they're going to try to make trades. It may be unsuccessful because of the cap space issues, but they're going to try.
Right.
Teams like the Heat, even the number one team in the Eastern Conference, they are going to make trades because they're going to hope everyone's healthy. They don't need so much depth, right? The depth they have is paying off, correct? But Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Caleb Martin, Yurtseven, they don't need all of those players, right? Someone like Dwayne Dedmon. Dwayne Dedmon is a player that has value, right? Look, the Heat, I'm going to bring them into the conversation just because that's what I specialize in. They are the best team in the East, yet they are going to make trades. And that's why I think this trade deadline, I'm going to anticipate a lot of movement.
Yeah.
And that's with little names, such as Miami's bench pieces. So we're going to go outside of Christian Wood and Domantas Sabonis. We're going to go to these small bench pieces from the Pistons, the Rockets, the Kings. They're going to get traded. That's what's going to happen before February 10th, and likely on February 10th.
Right.
That's what usually happens.
And oftentimes it's those little pieces that have big results.
Exactly.
You don't necessarily need to trade for an all-star. You need to trade for a good piece that's going to make a difference. It just dawned on me, and I'm kind of jazzed about this. We've got representation for the best team in the East and the best team in the West tonight. That's kind of cool. Now, the Heat, best team in the East. Isaac's anticipating a couple of moves. Nate, I don't think that the Suns need to do anything. But the question wasn't necessarily, for your team, do you see a lot of movement? And I know that, Isaac answered it, the way, it was posed. But I'm curious, Nate, do you think the Suns need to make any moves at all?
Well, I feel like they made their best moves in the beginning of the year.
Right.
Everyone they brought in so far has helped one way or the other. I mean, Landry Shamet yesterday had 17 points, was, doing his thing. I'm not entirely a big fan of mid-season trades and all that. I feel like it kind of messes with the mojo. But if it's getting rid of somebody who's a cancer or maybe getting you that one player that you're just, who can seamlessly move in, I don't think you should go out and get a superstar unless they give you somebody's like, here, take LeBron. I don't want to, But
right.
Other than that, get a role player who can move in, who can kind of work his way up the depth chart. I do see the Suns moving Dario Saric, though. I do see that because now we kind of have a log jam at center. or power forward, whichever one you know, because we got DeAndre Ayton, we got JaVale McGee, Bismack Biyombo, and Frank the Tank too.
Forgot
Dario hasn't
about
played in
Frank.
like what?
Yeah.
Dario hasn't played in what, like 2 years almost. I mean, like year and a half. He didn't play like a lot of last year, and then I don't think he'll play this season. Who knows? I think they'll move him if they can. He has a pretty big contract, bigger than Frank Kaminsky. And Frank has played well when he scored 31, and you guys remember that. And then he
Yep.
went down. We haven't seen him in a while. I feel like he'll be good for us this year. And they might end up moving Abel Nader. He hasn't really done much. They don't really have to, though. I don't think there's any like, come on, let's do it. I don't think James Jones needs to do anything.
Right.
But
that's the impression I get. Yeah.
Okay, but I do think that they might want to start getting ready to clear a little bit of cap space, because if they lose a little bit of, like, if they don't go all the way to the finals and they end up having to get a new team going, because DeAndre Ayton doesn't have his option picked up,
Right.
I don't know if Bismack is on like a 1 year. I don't know if JaVale is on a 1 year. I'm not entirely sure about the contract parameters. So they might want to get a little cash space going, so maybe they can re-sign some people or go into free agency with a little bit of money to make a splash.
Yeah.
I have a quick
think-
question. I have a quick
go ahead.
question, if you allow.
Yeah.
I'm a big Jay Crowder fan. He is so valuable for the playoffs, but that could mean that a team like the Suns, he hasn't been that good this year. Maybe he needs a new scenery, but maybe his value is so high for the playoffs that a team like maybe the Jazz or the Nuggets may want him for the playoffs, or maybe a team like the Bulls. I don't know. Nate, do you think they'll trade him? Because I think obviously he is so valuable for the Suns, but since he's so valuable for other teams too, that means Phoenix can get a good return for him.
I'm not sure what Jay Crowder does. I think he's the guy in the group chat who's like, "Come on, guys, let's go," and then doesn't even show up to the game. Like he does good every now and then, but he's about as offensively gifted as the dude passing out hot dogs at the games. I don't really like him too much. You're real big on him. If you want him, come get him. I don't really care.
Hey, but I'm telling you, a lot of teams probably want him because he is so valuable in the playoffs.
I believe he's valuable. But then again, it's how many players in the NBA? 400 or something like that. It's a bunch of players that could be valuable, especially to a team that has played well with him in or out of the lineup.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Here's how I think of it. If the Suns don't trade Jay Crowder, it's not because a team didn't want him. It's because the Suns think he's valuable for the playoffs.
That could be possible too. I don't think anyone is on the Suns is trying to move anyone who's a starter. He started every time he's played. He started.
Right.
So I don't think there's any reason for them to try to move off of him. But I'm getting sick of him playing 35 minutes and only having 6 points.
Yeah.
The headline, though, has got to be Jay Crowder loses shooting contest to hot dog vendor. That is the headline.
Talk about Cole Anthony making the dunk contest. What?
We'll talk All-Star game later. Oh, let's not go there just yet. Here's my gut. I don't know. I have nothing to base this on. I wish I had hotline to the NBA that could kind of give me the absolute scoop. This is just my gut, but I think there's going to be a lot of trades happening on and before the trade deadline. There's a lot of, and the reason is this. And as it kind of touched on it, there are a lot of teams that are kind of floundering and they're realizing it. The Pacers aren't going anywhere, right? So they're going to have to, at some point, make that decision, understand, and move on from it. The Portland Trailblazers, now they've been good of late. They've been playing a little bit better, but I think it's time to blow up C.J. McCollum and Dame Lillard. and move on from that. They've got a really great kid, and Anthony Simons, who is actually blossoming. Maybe it's time to give the reins to him. There are a lot of teams like that, and it's those teams that I think are going to move from their players. And when you have a chance to get somebody like a Sabonis, like a Turner, these are names that Isaac brought up, like a CJ McCollum potentially, and you move them to somebody like the Sixers or the Lakers, or the Clippers, or the Heat, or the Suns, if that were to happen, that tilts the scale, man. And I think one team is going to start. They're going to roll the dice, and they're going to bring in a Sabonis, and then somebody else is going to go, and somebody else is going to go. I anticipate a lot of movement this trade season. Fingers crossed. I hope so, because it's always exciting to see that happening. I haven't seen any troll comments, man. I welcome the trolls, but I'd rather have legitimate questions. But that's it. That's our show for tonight. Week 15 is now in the books. We'll be back next week to recap and run back week 16 rather. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Oh, shoot. We're not going to be back next week. At least I won't. So the show may run, it may not. I am off next week, but one way or the other, we'll recap week 16 and week 17. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Drop a bounce pass, throw down the rim rocker. Lay up off the glass, right past the shot blocker. I follow through like Kobe's is money. You can cash it. For news on LA hoops, come over to Peach Basket. Up-to-date sports, post-game reports, debates and play-by-play coming straight off the court. The voice of the fan making noise, causing havoc. Zone a man up, you can ask Peach Basket. The Peach Basket, come and tune on in. The Peach Basket, where the news begins. We're dropping news like we're in